let them eat cake.
Here, take the bomb.
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of The Peasant's Perspective. Oh my goodness, you guys are already here. John Atakis, good morning. Shantine, good morning. Carlito, good morning from YouTube. And Rumble, good morning, Carlitos. Great State of the Union. Yes, absolutely. It was a good one.
Wow. Everybody's lined up like they're trying to get into Target.
Huh?
Everybody's lined up like they're trying to get into Target.
It's like Black Monday or what is it? Black Friday. You gotta get into peasants. No, this is great. We are 2 chatters short on Rumble for the month. We got a couple more days left, but if anybody's a regular listener that hasn't chatted this month, please chime in because two more of you. So I'm pimping for chats right now. Okay, the next thing is the simultaneous sip, Ron. Back onto our routine. I know why you're here. You're here for the simultaneous sip. All you need is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, a chalice or stein, a canteen, jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure of the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better, the simultaneous sip, starting now.
For you.
Okay.
The government is excellent and uses your tax dollars efficiently.
They do not use your tax dollars efficiency. So, Ron, you got to watch the State of the Union last night. First impressions?
I didn't watch the whole thing. I only watched about 30 minutes. My first impression was, man, out of the gate, I was like, whoa. He's like, we're back, baby. I was like, whoa.
America is back. The State of the Union is strong. Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
I thought it was really good, actually.
I'd be shocked if he ever gave a State of the Union that'd be like, oh, we're doing okay.
Yeah.
Like, we're kind of 50-50. We're kind of rebuilding a few things.
No, he's pretty good at saying, we're the best.
We're the best. So the one thing I wanted to kind of, as we get into the State of the Union, I want to play this. This is from Patrick Byrne. He's off in England right now. Or I guess he was in England and now he's back in D.C. But he met with Tommy Robinson and he talked about what America's been going through as far as the 4 stages of a military Psy-Op. This is actually really good because we're kind of at the tail end of it. And we can get high enough above this thing and look back in time and we can look at exactly what Patrick Byrne's talking about here, how we basically had a color revolution or a military Psy-Op campaign run against we the people.
The disorientation was BLM and Antifa. Right here in D.C., I happened to be walking by the FBI, which is supposed to be the greatest law enforcement agency in the world. And there were a group of people who took over the street in front of the FBI and shut down traffic. We're doing wheelies and donuts and everything. They just shut it down and nobody did a thing. That whole, somebody took over 6 city blocks in Seattle and declared it a new country. That was all just to disorient, and because they have information dominance, they pound that into, that was all to disorient people. The 3rd stage was the fake election, which I think, that's a subject in itself. And then the 4th stage was cancel culture. That's the normalization. So to try to, these to people understand military psyops, this was carried out with military precision. These 4 weird things that happened that like have never happened in our history ever, and then suddenly all these weird things happen at once. A pandemic that changed all the rules, and it may seem random. It may seem like a kaleidoscope, but it's not. It's 4 pieces to the puzzle. It was a very well structured side.
Yeah, it's easy to look back and see that. Like, we started in 2020 and we were destabilized, where we were like disoriented. What's going on? Riots, BLM, St. George Floyd, Chaz, Chap. And then you have the election, right? Which is like the crisis. And then you have the normalization, censoring anybody who spoke up against the election, anybody who spoke out in favor of January 6ers, who spoke out in saying that COVID was the vaccine was the virus. Anybody who spoke out, they got censored. They were trying to normalize things. So the reason I wanted to play that first and set the stage is, but before I move on, I do have to do one thing. I have to say happy anniversary to my mom and dad. So happy anniversary. just so I don't forget it. Got to get it on the record. Thanks for reminding me this morning, Mom. I'm bad with calendars.
And at least how many years has it been?
43, I think is what they said.
Woo!
And I am 42 and 9 months old.
Don't do the math too hard.
Don't do the math too hard. Okay, so this is Edward Dowd. Before we jump into the State of the Union, this is Ed Dowd. And Ron, you said Trump came out and he goes, the State of the Union is strong. I love Trump, obviously. Thank you for my freedom. Right. I'm not here to bash Trump at all. He's been handed a bad set of keys, a bad deck of cards, right, in running this country right now. But Ed Dowd says something that to me makes a lot of sense. And this is why we can't quite make sense of the whiplash of numbers. Trump comes in and says everything's great. And we're like, well, last year everything was bad. Can it really turn around that fast? The answer is sort of, kind of, maybe not, who knows. I remember Jordan Peterson one times, the economy is too big for any one person to wrap their head around, right? The idea that you can kind of maintain what's going on out there in the broader economy is just impossible. So Ed Dowd is talking about all the numbers that the United States government has been pumping out.
What I can safely say is the non-farm payroll estimate is garbage, just garbage.
In relation to option 3, how is it a national security issue?
That's option 4. Because with the COVID pandemic, the state of emergency was declared, and they felt like they could, somewhere deep in the bowels of the deep state, they could make all sorts of statistics national security issues.
So what he's saying there is a lot of statistics that we rely on, they've made national security issues. So even if they publish a number, they won't show their work. Or they just won't publish any numbers at all, and they'll say it's national security. They've just literally created this, we can't tell you how many people are unemployed or unemployed or how to show our work because national security.
So then they can just say it's a good thing, everything's good or everything's bad, but we can't show you any data.
We saw this under Joe Biden. They told us on their little incremental release dates that there was 1 million jobs that had been created. And then systematically, they would revise those estimates down, and we found out there wasn't 1 million jobs created, there was 1 million jobs lost. So it went the polar opposite of what they had told us, but every time they made a release, the markets would react. Markets don't react to the revision. Well, then when you add up the revisions, you're like, you guys just pulled a huge fraud on the entire market.
Here's the other thing. Even if these numbers were accurate, it's often a disconnect from what people are feeling.
Exactly, which is why the numbers are garbage.
Currently, the CDC is not releasing cancer deaths since 2022.
Wow. CDC is not releasing cancer deaths since 2022. Why would they do that? Why would they do that for the first time ever?
There's a lot of stuff going on in the government. And, I think this is beyond, any administration. There's bureaucratic. Obviously, with the Epstein files, we're finding out there's a shadow government going on, and who knows what the true agenda is. But the agenda seems to be government data is garbage at the moment.
So, with that in mind, Ron, the State of the Union is strong.
Yes.
Here is the best video I found of the whole night. The whole night. This right here describes the last 24 hours in a nutshell. Okay. This is it right here. This is Chris Murphy, former impeachment manager to the president of the United States, Democrat, giving one of these, they decided not to go to the State of the Union, so they're doing counter programming. Okay. So this right here is the best description of the State of the Union I have ever seen.
This is the moment. This is the reason that she came here to the United States, to speak truth to power, to explain the trials and tribulations that every immigrant and every refugee goes through to get here, and to press this country to border. They stuck in the border. Go Trump! Go Trump! Hey, Murphy, you're scumbag. Thanks, man. Thanks, man.
Best video of the entire day yesterday. You have two worldviews. You have, we need to let immigrants in and take care of them. And you have, go Trump, you're a scumbag, Murphy. That right there encapsulate the State of the Union. Okay. So now we're going to go through some of these clips here. This is probably the most defining moment in the entire State of the Union yesterday. Now, when we play any video that has clapping, you guys, I don't even know if you can hear the clapping or not. We can't hear it. So I apologize. This is a State of the Union speech. There's a lot of clapping. So if the audio is muddled, I apologize.
I might mute some of it.
Maybe, yeah. So this right here was an iconic moment in history of State of the Unions. I am sure as time goes on, this will be one of those things that's like, hey, you want to read a zinger? Let's show you a couple things the president said in this speech yesterday. He put the entire Democrat Party on notice, and he exposed them to the entire world. Watch this. He asked them to stand if they believe that the purpose of America is to serve her citizens and not illegal aliens.
Oh,
so tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
The Republicans stand up and the Democrats stay seated.
Of course.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
So you can rhetoric all you want, and you can talk about how, you know, we've got to help Abuela. But when it really boils down to it, if you can't even say you're here to serve the American citizens, look, he points out. And then look at this.
Come on, guys. Come on.
Yeah. If you can't even stand to say that you serve the American citizens first and foremost, what are we doing here? And he just lets it sink in. He just lets it sink in. What an incredible moment.
I mean, that's the best campaign ad ever.
Yeah. And it's already coming out this morning. People in their primaries, right, are like zooming in on the person they're moving against. And they're like, state seating doesn't serve Americans.
Yeah.
Like they're just zooming in and with a big yellow circle with an arrow, like, you know, the right person I'm running against.
If you're an American, you cannot vote for any of these people.
Yep. And they know they're cooked. They know they're cooked. They know they just got schooled hard. All right, so we get through the clapping. A lot of clapping. This was a big deal. Okay, so this is one of the things that I had told to me twice last night was the put your shame in your face. That's a phrase I used to say way back in season 1. We have to put their shame in their face. Okay. This is Donald Trump putting their shame in their face, pointing out the hypocrisy for everybody to see. It essentially short circuits the circular logic they're using that creates the hypocrisy, right? So listen to this.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact.
We're going to come back to this. This is Ilhan Omar screaming her head off.
Penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country. They're
He got right at him. Oh man, I really thought that was good. Now, you have to understand, this is on a backdrop where the Democrats have lost their freaking mind. This is Congressman Steve Cohen, Democrat. Okay, listen to what he had to say. This is like a week or two ago. Okay, when Trump asked them to stand up and say that you represent American citizens, it's not just that these people have mixed constituencies or that these Democrats, you know, are trying to play some type of weird middle ground suburban mom angle. They have a genuine hatred for legacy Americans.
We need people working in the front lines and local law enforcement to protect our citizens from the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst are not the immigrants. The worst of the worst, records show, are native-born Americans. We need...
It's a visceral hatred they have for native-born Americans. He's literally advocating for hiring illegal aliens and putting them on the police forces to protect, apparently, him and his ilk from the real threat, which is legacy-born American citizens.
His neighbors.
My neighbors. I need to import immigrants to protect me from the people who belong here.
Oh, geez.
Who can't leave here, who are tied to the land. That's what a peasant is. He's tied to the land, right? There's nowhere to run. I speak English. I'm born here. Everywhere else I would be a foreigner. This is where my creator dropped me. Okay? It's like, I have a right. I have a necessity.
Yeah.
That's not how he feels. You know, when I was in prison and all of the guards, 80% of them or more, were from Africa and were Muslim, it sure didn't feel like my constitutional rights were being protected. I'm not sure any of them had ever read the Constitution. I'm not sure any of them ever had read the Bill of Rights. I remember asking one guard about the Fourth Amendment, something or another, and he goes, "What you talking about the Bill of Rights? I don't owe you no money." When I said Bill of Rights, he literally interpreted it as bill, as in he owed me money. And he was like, "I don't owe you no money." It's like, we're talking past each other here. Here is Democrat Rep Janelle Bynum being asked about, you know, Donald Trump putting everybody on the spot. And she plays the middle ground. But you just heard Cohen talking. She's no different. She's just a little more politically savvy and doesn't say stupid
What
things.
did you think about that moment when the president was asking Democrats to stand up for American citizens during that part of the speech when he was talking about immigration and immigration enforcement efforts?
I think you can agree with the what, like standing up for American citizens, but I disagree with the how.
But he only wanted you to stand up for the what. You could have gotten a win. This would have been not have been a political disaster for you last night if you would have just stood up. You can go into committee meeting and vote against everything.
Yeah.
But you might have just lost the midterms. I mean, that was as bad as Nancy Pelosi ripping up the speech. If you're at all moderate or middle ground, that was offensive for them not standing up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like, well, we might want to protect the immigrants, but obviously job number one is the citizens. So it's not the what, it's the how.
And so it's always about how do we bring our country together, but not stand on the backs of others. There's thinly veiled racist language, anti-immigrant language in what he was asking. And that was uncomfortable.
Yes, thinly veiled racist language. I wouldn't say it was that thinly veiled. I kind of felt like he was pretty outright. Like when he said this, I almost fell out of my chair laughing.
The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games.
So he comes right out and says it. The Somali pirates prove to us that there are places and cultures in the world that do bribery and corruption. And Ilhan Omar's back there. He was losing her mind, man. She looked like a little petulant child yelling at Trump. In fact, here it is again.
You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public.
Look how childish she looks doing.
What does she keep yelling?
Who blocked the
She's calling Trump a murderer and all that.
The removal of criminal aliens, in many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country. They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed.
Lots of clap.
Most importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act.
So he wants the Save America Act passed. How popular is the Save America Act? So he just does the State of the Union. Obviously, the Republicans mostly are going to want it, but the Democrats don't seem to want it. But it's pretty popular, right? Like the concept of citizens voting in American elections doesn't even seem that wild, right? Doesn't seem that way. CNN, in their polling, came up with these numbers. So the Democrats would not stand to support American citizens as the primary motive of American governance. They won't stand and will not pass the Save America Act, which ensures that only American citizens can vote. So you have to start asking yourself, who is the constituency of the Democrats?
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of Black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party. and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So something to be not.
Take a look here.
Major influencer Nicki Minaj weighs in on political voting topics. It's true, though. It's true. Okay. How could you vote against the Save America Act? Oh, you can't even. Oh, I get it. It's because you actually don't like American citizens. I mean, this is the Cohen. It's like, oh, well, you just said it right there. The worst of the worst among us are the native-born Americans. Okay, yeah, but that's our problem. When you import someone, that's their problem dumped off on us. You see, one of the things he talked a lot about Lake and Riley and passing. He called it passing the. He called for an act based on one of the kids that was killed by illegal immigrants. But anyways, which basically prevents sanctuary cities. But one of the things that I thought was interesting as I was thinking about it, it's like, okay, we only want to deport violent criminal illegals. And he uses these examples of people who were killed by people who were here illegally. And of course, it's easy to justify deporting that person. Really, they're going to serve 20 years or longer in our prisons, and then we deport them, right? Mm-hmm. But that person should have never been here to commit the crime in the first place. Mm-hmm. So the Democrats, to split the baby, to try to split the issue, are like, well, let's just take the criminals, the hardened criminals. Yeah, but every person who's here illegally is one drunk driving evening away from being the criminal that was here illegally that kills someone. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So every illegal is just a crime waiting to happen. They're an accident waiting to happen. They're a fraud waiting to happen. And when it does happen, because inevitably some percentage of everybody gets into trouble, the easy thing to look at is go, well, they shouldn't have been here in the first place. And that's true.
Yep.
Even if your only crime is going to work really hard every day, working at your landscaping job, right, with the other pinches, and you go out to the bar in the evening after work and you drive home one time drunk and kill somebody, you're that murderer that we let through the border.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Like you could just run a red stop sign and kill somebody. It doesn't. Every illegal isn't supposed to be here. So any behavior or anything they do, they should have never been able to do. So it's one thing when someone's here working and they have a green card, they went through the process. We have accepted the risk. We looked at their background. We looked at their financial outlook. We looked at their ability to care for themselves, and we accepted the risk. Therefore, if a green card holder gets in a car accident, the gut response isn't, you shouldn't be here. The gut response is, that was tragic, just like if a citizen killed a citizen.
Right.
But when you're here completely illegally, it's like there is a series of failures that allowed you to even be here.
And it's an indefensible policy that these Democrat, leadership people seem to be glommed onto when you look at these numbers. The Democrat, average citizen has no desire or connection to.
No, they don't. It's the rich white liberals. It's the upper middle class white liberals that are in subdivisions and suburbs and high-rise apartments that are separated from, me on a construction site, or, you know what I'm saying? Or you in a little small town community that's being, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a disconnect. They don't live in Springfield, Ohio, where you dump 20,000 Haitians on a town of 40,000. And then Governor DeWine goes, well, as far as, being a governor, it looks good because, the GDP of Springfield's gone way up.
Well, what
about my culture? What about my park? What about my pets?
We just played the stats where 80% of all of America says we should have voter ID. But then when the president asked the Democrats to stand, they just sit there. And it's like, well, who are you representing? Because everybody wants it.
Totally disconnected. Here, Trump came out specifically against this. He puts their shame in their faces. He tells the Democrats, when I left, the border was closed. You opened it. You did this. You enabled this. You have the blood of these people who have been killed on you.
For decades before I came along, we had the exact opposite. From trade to healthcare, from energy to immigration. Everything was stolen and rigged in order to drain the wealth out of the productive, hardworking people who make our country great, who make our country run. Under Biden and his corrupt partners in Congress and beyond, it reached a breaking point with the Green New scam, open borders for everyone. They poured in by the millions and millions from prisons, from mental institutions. They were murderers, 11,888 murders. They came into our country. You allowed that to happen. And record-setting inflation that cost the typical family $34,000 in just a speck of time. Now, the same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly used the word affordability, a word. They just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices that all of our citizens had to endure. You caused that problem. You caused that problem.
Just clapping. You caused that problem. You caused that
They knew
problem.
their statements were a lie. They knew their statements were a lie. They knew it. They knew their statements were a dirty, rotten lie. Their policies created the high prices. Our policies are rapidly ending them. We are doing really well. Those prices are plummeting downward.
They look so dour without the clapping.
Is down 60%, Madam Secretary. Thank you. The cost of chicken, butter, fruit, hotels, automobiles, rent is lower today than when I took office by a lot. And even beef, which was very high, is starting to come down significantly. Just hold on a little while. We're getting it down. And soon you will see numbers that few people would think were possible to achieve just a short time ago. Nobody can believe when they see the kind of numbers, especially energy, when they see energy going down to numbers like that, they cannot believe it. It's like another big tax cut. I'm also confronting one of the biggest ripoffs of our times, the crushing cost of health care.
One of the things I said to my wife last night as we were listening to this, I was like, you know, Donald Trump makes it impossible to run as a traditional Democrat, a blue collar union working Democrat. He just takes issue after issue from them, right? He's taking healthcare from them. He's taking union support and American jobs from them. He just goes into these areas that traditionally, when we did the Hegelian dialect and you put anti-life, pro-war stance, but pro-life, anti-abortion stance, and we put anti-life, pro-abortion stance and pro-life, anti-war stances on the opposite side of the political spectrum. So either way, I have to choose to have one anti-life policy and one pro-life policy, no matter which party I look at. So you and I, Ron, as totally rational people with similar belief systems, could literally pick either or party and justify it based on our moral programming.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, either have to kill the baby in the womb or you kill Haji overseas. But either way, one party or the other wants to kill somebody. I know that sounds really crazy, but that is how this Hegelian dialectic split the parties. And it went, you can go down the row and you can see, well, I support this issue, but not this issue. I support this issue, but not this issue. So then it just becomes a hierarchy of what are your top priority issues and stuff that you'll let go to the wayside.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if anti-war is more important, then you let being pro-choice go to the wayside as far as abortion, because
but always in that list, somewhere in there is death, murder.
Yeah, always on both sides. Trump is the first president in the modern era to just come and go, no, I'm just going to be pro-life top to bottom. Right? I'm going to be pro-life. I'm going to be anti-war, and I'm going to be anti-death. But I'm also going to be a realist and understand that you can have peace through strength.
And then
You know?
all the Christians in the entire country go,
Yeah. So it does require people to kind of look in the mirror and assess their paradigms a little bit. Like, you can be strong national defense, but are you really in support of 20-year endless wars in the Middle East that kill millions of living people, right? For essentially no reason. Justify Afghanistan.
well, we lost a lot of limbs.
The only justification for Afghanistan is if you're in Afghanistan, he's saying we get a lot of free stuff at the end. You know, hey, if you spend 20 years fighting with Americans, at the end, you'll have one of the most state-of-the-art militaries in the world for free.
And they can ship a lot of cheap heroin everywhere.
Think about how good of a deal it was for the Russians and the Chinese to arm the Afghanistans against the Americans. Because at the end of it, for the cost of a couple AK-47s, they got Humvees, Blackhawks, night vision goggles, biometric identification for everybody in the country. Like, they got it all. for the investment of a few AK-47s. You know what I mean? Okay, so Donald Trump takes one other issue from the Democrats, healthcare.
Oh.
The crown jewel of this century for the Democrats has been Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act and what that has done to insurance. Donald Trump came right at these guys. The shutdown last year was over Donald Trump not funding the the additional money to cover the increasing premiums because Obamacare is broken.
Right.
It's broken, right? It's too expensive. So their solution has been to be patching it. Just keep paying more. Just keep paying more subsidies. That's the word. They were giving you subsidies. So if your insurance is $10,000 this year, they'll subsidize you $8,000. Well, that $8,000 is being robbed from our kids and from our future.
Right.
So rather than fix the problem,
that's the part that the average citizen doesn't see, and it's the part that makes it not affordable. It is unaffordable, but people don't know it because it's paid for through these third party subsidies. And the problem is that they keep talking about it like it is affordable. It is not.
No, it's not. Which is why Donald Trump last night, continuing with what he was saying, came out hard on insurance.
I'm also confronting one of the biggest ripoffs of our times, the crushing costs of health care caused by you. Since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act, sometimes referred to as Obamacare, big insurance companies have gotten rich. It was max cut.
Big insurance companies got rich. And he really shames them for it, man. I loved it. Let's go to the chats here. Pony Boy, happy anniversary to my mom. PB Brown, Utah Scouts, Guten Tag. John Atakis, thank you for the anniversary wish. Let's see. Berazer, happy anniversary to the parents of Taylor. Eva Razel, yes, happy anniversary. My parents also. Oh, that's fun. Shantini, he was not happy. No, he wasn't. Pony Boy, if voter ID is unanimously approved by Americans on all sides, why is it even a question? We know what the issue is, but it's so obvious. The issue is the lineup of people they have running for office on the Democrat Party. Yeah. At the very end, when we get into private, we're going to show the CNN polling on the 4 front runners for the Democrat Party. And when you look at them, you're like, it's a clown car. In fact, Harry Enten uses the actual words, this is a clown show. They don't have a serious person. They have built their party around relying on fraud. They believe if they can get 25% of the people, who you can always get 25% of the people to believe in anything, are idiots. If you can get 25% of the people, you can backload with 25% more ballots. Some of the number discrepancies we have in registered voters to actual human beings is stunning. Like, in Pennsylvania, having 99.7% of the adults registered. And it's like, that's never happened. You know what I mean?
Anywhere, ever.
Yeah. Anyone know why Justice Pony Boy Pinches? Yeah, I wondered if you'd catch that. Anyone know why Justice Thomas and Alito were not at the SOTU? They don't ever have all 9 of them there. There's always 3 that stay out so that if State of the Union gets bombed tomorrow, the designated survivor, which is probably the housing and urban development director or whatever, and the 3 members of the Supreme Court and, the 1 member of the House that still has a seat, they can rebuild the government. So that's why they don't all show up at the same time. It's the same thing with the cabinet. They don't all show up at the same time. Somewhere in that chain of succession, those people are sitting in a bunker watching the State of the Union.
Right.
In fact, there's a really great TV series called Designated Survivor. It's about that, where they bomb the Capitol building during the State of the Union and the former housing director becomes president.
Yeah, Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yep. Okay, so Donald Trump also addressed the tariffs. This was really interesting because he did have the justices in the room, and we got the justices. We didn't have Alito, right? We didn't have Alito there, but we had Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts, who voted against Trump's tariffs. Yep. He rallied against it.
And as time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for.
Oh, excuse me. He went on a little longer speech, and he really did kind of shame the justices in having voted against the bill. He goes, it was an unimaginable ruling, but that's okay. We have stronger tariffs, and we're going to do it. And it pans in on Justice Roberts' face. He's like, very stoic. So let's play this here.
And as time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love.
I actually really love that. Taking a great financial burden off the people that I love. The whole speech, he's referring to the people, the American people. When he talks about health insurance, he's talking about the insurance companies got rich and we're going to give the money to you, the people. So when he says taking a great financial burden off of people I love, he's talking about his doorman, his valet, his construction workers, his union workers. It's talking about us, right? It is a burden on us. It's a huge burden on us. It's not always a huge burden on someone who's wildly rich, right? What's the difference between $2 billion and $2 million?
Isn't it refreshing to have a politician anywhere just recognize that it is a burden on the people?
And not just recognize that it is a burden on the people to run, to try to lower tax rates incrementally, but actually having a plan with tariffs and saying out loud, this is designed to replace the entire taxation system where we tax people domestically. Yeah. I had this vision yesterday. If you know, consider the United States government as a corporation. That corporation, it feeds off its own employees, unlike any other corporate structure out there, right? If I go get a job at Microsoft, I don't have to pay dues, okay? I don't have to pay a membership to be there. I am the employee. The relationship we have with the government as a taxpayer is literally that of an employer. You are part of their corporate structure. You are a corporate access. United States Code Section 18 defines a citizen of the United States as a vessel of which the United States has complete and total dominion. When you volunteer to become a taxpayer, when you call yourself a citizen of the all caps United States government, you are a piece of property to them. End of story. Say there's no distinction here, right? Yeah. Distinction is one thing. Separation is another. You're the collateral. You are the collateral. You're the one who has to pay the national debt, period. There's no, Fort Knox is empty. When that gold gets gone, when people come calling notes due, guess what they're coming for? Your mortgages, your assets. You're the collateral when you're in that system. The idea that the employees of a system are the ones who pay themselves back and not the government itself. That's why Trump is treating the United States as a corporation. And he's saying, listen, if you come here to shop, you got to pay. That's the tariffs. It changes things dramatically. Mm-hmm. And in the United States 250-year history, 175 years, that was the regime, and it led to the Gilded Age. So, of course, we want to return to it. I'm so glad that Trump is bringing that up. The other thing he did yesterday, and I was a little surprised by this, but I shouldn't have been, he really pushed for the passing of the bill that prevents insider trading. Now, when you talk about Congress, the whole thing has been Republicans are the money guys. They're the country club guys that got the backroom money deals. And then you've got the Democrats, right? And they're the communists. They're the ones that want to take the money from the guys in the back room at the country club and give it to the poor constituents and, spread the wealth. So there's always this kind of game that goes on. We want to save your taxes. We want to take your taxes. And that's the rouge. Behind the scenes, people on the left and right are insider trading. Okay, clearly. We see this, very obvious.
Get your Pelosi tracker out.
And it's across both parties.
Right.
Okay? So the Democrats more, though, have run on that progressive, like we're against corporate America. We're pro-government, anti-America. We're pro-government to interfere in the businesses of America. Then you've got the Republicans that are pro-America for purposes of building the military, but they want hands off the corporations. So this is whatever. It's Hegelian dialect. It's the same dance. We're just going in a spiral. Well, Donald Trump kind of broke it yesterday because he said, hey, let's cancel insider trading, which normally is a Democrat talking point.
As we ensure that all Americans can profit from a rising stock market, let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information.
So they stand up and chat. They stand up and clap here. Now, even Elizabeth Warren stood up and chat. In fact, look, all the Democrats. Isn't that crazy? The Democrats can't stand up for American citizens, but they can stand up with getting rid of insider trading. To me, it feels a little bit of a ruse, but whatever. But again, if you're a normal American citizen, you're not sitting at home on your couch last night going, Donald Trump's an idiot. Our economy will fail if we don't allow people to inside trade. Nobody's making that argument. It doesn't benefit us at all if you have insider trading coming out of Congress. Yeah. So even if you're absolutely hate Donald Trump and you're like a dyed-in-the-wool true and true communist, Your ideology doesn't allow for the people in charge to insider trade. This is the last scene in Animal Farm where the pigs and the farmers are sitting around the table and the animals cannot tell the difference between the two. I don't care if you're Elizabeth Warren and you want to get rid of quote unquote central banking, even though all of your policies enforce it, right? I don't care if you're the anti-banking gal. If you're insider trading, you're just a hypocrite. So they all stood up. They didn't stand up when we said, do you represent American citizens? But when it came to getting rid of insider trading, they all stood up. And then, of course, Donald Trump does a little...
They stood up for that, I can't believe.
As opposed to for the citizens.
I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she's here?
Oh!
Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay.
Okay, they all stood up. I expect that to be passed.
There should be no opposition.
There's going to be some people that are pissed off because Trump just pissed in their Cheerios. I had a good deal with that water company going to smart meters, Mark Wayne Bolins. Or I had a good deal with Lockheed. We were going to get that new jet contract. I'm on the committee. There's going to be some people that are pissed off. Now, this also changes the way lobbyists can interact because they can't go, hey, do this and, invest in a little stock and, that's where you get the return, right? We're all ready to go with a government contract. We're going to buy our own stock back, which raises the prices, which is another problem, right? We give these companies money to make something, and they use that money not to make something, but to buy back their own stock to raise the stock prices.
Yeah.
And Trump put an end to it with an executive order. You know what I mean? So imagine, these little things that Trump is doing and coming at, they're not little. They're huge. It's one thing to just blanket say, listen, you shouldn't insider trade. That's wrong. Let's just do it. It changes the entire lobbying landscape. It changes the rules of the game to such a degree that nobody wants to jump into it because where are our leverage points?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I'm saying? What's the perk that we can offer? Nancy Pelosi got asked about this after the State of the Union and just total deer in the headlights, man.
There was one moment, Madam Speaker, where he called you out specifically around, of course, congressional stock trading. What do you say back to him?
I say back to him, as that's what members said, look at your own self. The inference he wants to draw is there was something wrong with that, which there wasn't. And if there was, people get prosecuted for it. For a long time now, we've been trying to pass this law. It doesn't have, now it has more support than it had before. And
Elizabeth Warren stood up and applauded. Elizabeth Warren stood and applauded tonight when the president talked about it.
Well, we all did. I did too. He said, did Nancy stand up? Yeah, I did too. A lot of people stood up. A lot of Democrats stood up. I think that will pass, depending on what the bill is. I mean, what we had, we thought we could.
But husbands can trade.
Pass. It was actually a tougher bill than Governor Spanberger had put forth. We thought it could pass, but it was clear that it wasn't going to make it to the House and the Senate. But in any event, he gives his shout out. You don't pay any attention to him. What I'm concerned about is our democracy, which he is destroying.
It's so good, man.
I don't know. The president, I don't pay attention to him.
I don't pay attention to him. But he is destroying democracy. Why? Well, he's not going to let us insider trade anymore, or pay off the big insurance companies, or represent illegal aliens, or let Somali pirates into the country.
She looked like a deer in the headlights before she even heard the question.
Dude, it's wild. Again, putting people's shames in their faces. Hypocrisy. And I'm the first to raise my hand. We all do this. We're all rational in our own minds, and we all have blind spots.
Yep.
I love it when people point out my blind spots because, in my opinion, based on my belief in some of Ayn Rand's theories, is there are no contradictions. If there are, check your premise.
Well, and the Democrats always want to try to weaponize this against you.
They want to weaponize contradiction. And if you're not solid on who I am and who you are and who we are, those contradictions don't get worked through.
Well, they'll use terms like, well, have you checked your implicit bias?
Exactly. Or they'll say, well, you have white privilege.
Right.
Or whatever. Well, this woman right here, I don't even know her name. It's totally irrelevant. I don't care. She's on BBC Radio, though, and she's apparently a Jewish woman. Look at this. Okay. We want to talk about put your shame in your faces. These are the type of people that we're ideologically opposed to. And we have some of these same types of people on our side too. Okay. So this is when your logic isn't right, when you have contradictions, we have to check the premise. This is the problem with Mike Huckabee and Ted Cruz when they talk to Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is not going to let some giant contradiction like we have a genetic right to this land, but we're not genetically connected to it stand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if your justification is God gave us this and we're genetically connected because of that, first of all, who's God that gave it? Okay. That's one question, but let's set that aside.
Okay.
But then it's also, well, if the justification is because you're genetically connected.
Let's play the clip.
And you're not? Okay. This is, again, blatant hypocrisy.
Only 2 weeks ago, a week before I went away, I opened Twitter on my phone. What did I see? I saw Jewish privilege trending. Do you know how that feels? Do you know how frightening that is? How angering that is?
So as a Jewish woman, it is terrifying, frightening, and intimidating to see Jewish power trending on Twitter. Interesting, because
total white privilege on your part to use the word oppression in such a easy, cavalier manner. You're playing to the gallery.
So I said privilege. She said Jew privilege and then white privilege. Right? Pick one. You're either offended by it or you're not, right? But it's again, well, you're using it for, so are you. You're using it to claim oppression. So are you. Okay. Jake Tapper was talking to Sean Duffy, Secretary of Transportation, former Fox News host, and he's asking him about Donald Trump's performance because he called the Democrats crazy. Remember, he's like, these people are crazy. They don't support American citizens. They don't support good policy. And I think once or twice, Donald Trump, these people are crazy. So that was addressed by Sean Duffy.
These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. I mean, but that's not something we ever heard from Obama or Biden from that stage.
No, I mean, listen, we've never had a speaker rip up a speech either. But when you're saying issues like we're talking about trucking, we have, and it comes in my space, where you have states that are issuing driver's licenses to illegals who haven't been trained to drive a 80,000-pound truck on an American road. We have a little girl that had a life impacted for the rest of her life, and she's 5 years old, and it was an illegal who hit her. I think the question becomes, why doesn't every Democrat stand up and go, no, we want well-qualified drivers on American roads? That's not partisan. We don't want illegals who can't speak the language, contrary to American law for decades, to not be on American roads. I think those are easy issues, Jake, and I don't think we saw Democrats stand up and support them. We got some applause for the U.S. Olympic hockey team, but that was probably one of the only bipartisan moments of the night, which I think is too bad. Again, if inflation's down, Democrats should applaud it. If real incomes are up, Democrats should applaud it.
Unless you have the Edward Dowd opinion and all those numbers are made up anyways.
Those are good things that we should support as Americans. And just because Donald Trump's in office doesn't mean you have to sit on your hands. You should applaud that because that's good for America.
It would make sense. That was one of the things they talked about yesterday was passing a bill that would prevent non-citizens from getting Class A CDL driver's license, which would prevent them from being in the 18-wheelers. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. There was a poll put out by Gallup, and this is the graph for that poll. It says, pride in being an American citizen by political party, 2001 to 2025. So it shows here in 2001, which, by the way, I graduated in 2002. So when I left high school, there was a very marginal difference between Republicans and Democrats when it came to pride of being an American. But look at what happened here.
And that's also 9/11.
Yep, 9/11. So clearly, right, kind of tax up. Republicans are like 98% America.
Well, that's all the, go get them. We'll never forget, guys.
Yep. And then the Democrats went to college. And by the time I graduated college, I was probably down here too. Right?
Indoctrinated.
Yeah. So the Republicans have maintained a plus 80%, really like 85% to 95%. Right now it sits at 92%. Pride in America. Whereas the Democrats are sitting right now at 36%. I find it interesting through the Trump era, they dropped. And then during Biden era, they shot back up. I guess that open border was just so enticing for them. I'm just super excited about all the illegals coming in. But then immediately Trump gets reelected and they're back down here. 36%. So when you are a quote unquote dyed in the wool Democrat voter, you're 30s, you don't like America. This is a problem for me. I have to live here. I want you to like the place you live enough to, pick up the trash, do basic stuff, participate civically, just go the speed limit, stop at the stop sign, don't drive drunk. Right? All that stuff seems like a good idea. Yesterday, I talked about John Solomon and how he's been talking about accountability's coming. Accountability's coming. A couple months ago, he put this out. We heard what we heard yesterday. And then a couple months later, he put this out saying that Pam Bondi's behind the 8 ball, that the information that she is telling the public and Congress is brand spanking new. He's like, we reported on that 6 months ago. John Solomon, how do you think we feel about the stuff you report? Some of it we reported on 5 years ago.
To give you a sense of where our Attorney General is, she did an Epstein documents 2.0 on all of us. She did it. She put out this tweet, got a lot of traffic, great Fox News story. Oh my God, guess what I discovered? I discovered that Joe Biden gave up Donald Trump's phone and Mike Pence's phone to Jack Smith. That's great, Madam Attorney General, except that story came out in April. He wasn't even aware that wasn't a new development, but an old development that had been discussed by Senators Grassley and Johnson for months. If you want to fix the perp walk problem, if you want to fix the opportunity to bring accountability, Kash Patel has the evidence. The prosecutors, with the exception of Halligan, are lagging far behind the evidence, and that sand clock is ticking down not only on statute of limitations, but on the time that occurs in between elections. 26 elections already underway. We're missing really valuable time to educate the public. The American people are missing valuable time. I don't think DOJ is getting there. When you see that there was a 6-month delay in this document, when you see the Attorney General presenting something new that is old, she's so far behind the facts. I'm really worried that Donald Trump doesn't have the team that can bring accountability to the Justice Department. That's just my reporting. And by the way, that's what many Justice Department and members of Congress have been saying to me privately over the last 4 weeks.
I have some of those same concerns.
This is the shot to the heart. The reality that we might get 4 years down the road, and let's just pretend Trump doesn't go through a political impeachment. We might get 4 years down the road, and it's just running out the clock. And even if we get a J.D. Vance, he does not have the will or the political capital to do what Donald Trump did last night at the State of the Union, let alone actually sign the executive orders and pass the laws, right? If Trump can get it done in his time period, and then a J.D. Vance or a Marco Rubio takes over, they can keep it, but they're probably not going to advance the football. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I hope they can do it.
I hope so too, but this is one of those like, what would happen if he fired Bondi? Well, now you got to go through a Senate confirmation. We can't even get him to vote on a bill that has 50 co-sponsors. It's a pass. 50 co-sponsors, vote, let the Democrats talk themselves silly. J.D. Vance will show up and close it out.
I don't like the way you're talking. I don't like the way you're talking because it sounds like you're in like a fatalistic mood, like it's already lost.
I'm not, but it's clear eyes, right? It's like when you hear Donald Trump talking, State of the Union is strong. All your numbers are fake. We've got great employment. Do we? My point here is we're living in this time where very little can be trusted. So the only way to do it is the AI style. We have to consume this information and filter it with our judgment. I have to be the judge of this stuff, right? Because I can't, this is one of the things I was saying last night in one of our meetings is there's no authority. There's no one that you can look at in this country right now and go, I can trust you because you're the sheriff. I can trust you because you're a judge. I can trust you because you're an elected official. I can trust you because you're an election committee person. I can trust you because you're a doctor. I can trust you because you're a CPA. You can't trust any titles. You can't trust anybody's, claim to authority at this current state. Oh, hey, you've got a serious medical issue? Yeah, go to that doctor that told you that putting on a mask during COVID would save your life. Go to that doctor that told you that injecting mercury and aluminum and those turbo cancer stuff, it didn't even open the insert for the vaccines to know that was in there. Go ask that doctor about it. Do you trust them? Do you think they actually read the medical literature? Or did they just go to school long enough to get their degree and now you can pay them? Do you see what I'm saying? You can't trust a title. You can't trust somebody's degree. We are at a point where you can't even trust the name of something like victim. So Ro Khanna yesterday tried to pull this fast one on Trump and try to bring a victim to the State of the Union. Remember when Donald Trump brought rape victims of Bill Clinton to the debate to be like, oh, you think I said something bad on a bus talking to another man, like locker room talk? There's 4 women that have credibly accused your husband of rape.
I do remember that.
Put their shame in their faces. So here is Scott Jennings talking about Ro Khanna's guest. Ro Khanna, to me, is proving to be a moron. He's proving to be someone that's got great talking points. He's probably wildly intelligent, but he's a fucking freaking moron because he doesn't know who he's working with. It's like over and over and over, Ro Khanna's the one that's like, we got Trump now. And they're like, we've got Bill Clinton on a leash. He's like, oh, how did that happen? So he invites a Epstein victim to the State of the Union last night.
And then there's the curious case of California Congressman Ro Khanna. Well, he is bringing to the speech tonight someone connected to the Epstein files story. Let's hear from Ro Khanna about that person in Cut 12.
Haley Robeson just wants justice. That's why I'm inviting her as my guest tomorrow at the State of the Union. She'll be speaking not just for herself, but for the thousands of survivors.
You heard the name there, Haley Robeson. Now, Ro Khanna says she is speaking for the survivors, but is she? The files show something completely different, that Haley Robeson was, in fact, someone who worked with Jeffrey Epstein to recruit young women to the island. According to CNN's reporting, and I'm just going to read it to you, quote, Robeson told police she remembered bringing 6 girls to Epstein and told authorities she was like a Heidi Fleiss, the Hollywood madam who ran a high-class prostitution ring. Robeson provided police with the names of some of the girls she had brought to Epstein's house. She gave the officers the cell phone numbers for 4 of them and told police she wanted to assist the investigation in hopes of receiving lesser charges for herself.
She cut a deal. She snitched to get a deal. And good thing she stayed out of prison, because when you a snitcher, it's not very good in prison. She trafficked women, underage women, and got away with it. She got away with it. And now she gets the category of the victim and got to go to the State of the Union with a sitting congressman.
CBS News. Haley Robeson received $200 payments each time she escorted a new masseuse to Epstein's home, according to the police reports. Robeson targeted girls from the rural area outside Palm Beach, where she grew up, because Epstein believed they were less likely to complain to authorities. Here again, Robeson likened herself to the so-called Hollywood madam Heidi Fleiss in an interview with Palm Beach police. And Epstein, she said, once admonished her for bringing a 23-year-old recruit to his home because she was told the younger, the better. So of all the possible people that Congressman Ro Khanna could bring to the speech tonight to highlight the Epstein issue, this is who he chooses. This latest Epstein fiasco with Ro Khanna comes after he outed 4 innocent men on the House floor by name, whose names appeared in some files, but who had, it turns out, done nothing wrong. He claimed they were perpetrators, and in fact, they were just random people.
They were in a police lineup.
He doesn't sound very intelligent to me.
The 4 people that he named, they were 4 volunteers that went in a police lineup.
Oh, boy.
That's the only reason their names are in the files, was because in the lineup, and I don't know who else was in the lineup, Lex Wexner or whoever, there's just, 4 randoms. It'd be like jury duty.
Right.
We got 4 people in here that are tall white guys. Come stand in line and let the victim identify who, right? He exposed their names, called them perpetrators out of the Epstein files. Imagine these guys' phones blowing up. They didn't even know they were in the Epstein files. They just did a police lineup 10 years ago. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, I guess it was a pretty serious lineup. Ro Khanna, moron. Hey, I'm going to bring a victim because she said it was really horrible what Epstein did to her. Yeah, you should ask the people she brought to Epstein about what he did to her. And by the way, she was an adult when she started working with Epstein.
Well, either a moron or / really unintelligent, or is he trying to do this because he has to for some part of the cover party?
I think he's a moron.
Okay.
Personally, I think he's a moron because he presents as a populist Democrat, and I think he is. I think he's actually someone that Republicans can work with to get a lot of like fixing Obamacare, and I think you can work with him. But he's a moron. It's like you don't read the material. You just take the talking points and run with it. It's almost like he's running behind Massey's sales here. Massey's a little bit more of an operator in this.
I'm sorry, but we can't have Morons in our party.
I agree. Here's another victim. Here's what I'll say. Up till now, all of the victims, with the exception of Virginia Giuffre, who's rest in peace, now passed, but all of the victims that you see publicly in the press conferences, they're not victims. They're like this woman right here.
As I also brought other girls, I brought my friends, underage as well to him. So, I just hold a lot of guilt and shame for doing those things. And I know how I felt the first time I ever went to his house and was actually abused by him. And, it was one of the most devastating days of my life. And just to know that I had any influence on that happening to somebody else, just, it's just devastating and breaks my heart.
How many girls do you think you brought to Jeffrey Epstein?
I would say at the minimum 50, but anywhere from 50 to 70 girls. I know that I can't remember the exact number now, but.
And what were their ages?
The same ages as me.
The madam who calls herself Heidi Fleiss, who was overage. She was over 18. She was like 22 when she met Epstein and then went on to traffic underage kids. So at what point was she a victim? At least this girl was underage when she met Jeffrey Epstein, but she continued on to bring 50 to 70 girls. She can't even count. She doesn't even know how many victims she brought. The victims you see on social media and on TV are not victims. The reason they're out there is it's just like you have an attorney go talk to the media when you're in trouble to try your case in public opinion. These girls who are co-conspirators are trying to get victim status and they're pleading their case in the media. I was abused and that's why I did it.
Well, that's why I said what I said about Ro Khanna. Is he part of the cover-up?
He's an idiot.
Okay.
He's an idiot. This is what I'm saying. Like, if you look at that, I can have sympathy. I'm sorry, Epstein hurt you. But when you go and continue and bring 50 or 70 girls, where are the 50 or 70 girls that didn't continue the trafficking? You're out here mea culpa-ing, right? Pleading your case in public opinion. You should have a life sentence in prison. I don't, what do you want me to say here? Oh, the bad man made me do it. There's a certain point in the Nuremberg trials when I was told to do it, doesn't fly anymore. When I told the judge in my case, Judge, answers to my questions like you just have to don't work for me anymore. If I've been abused and the solution is go abuse other people, that answer doesn't work for me anymore. You know what I mean? This guilt after the fact. Here's what happened. These girls took the money. I understand they're 14, 15, 16. You took the money. You came back. If you hadn't have taken the money, or even if you took the money and went and told your parents, that's what led to his downfall in the first place. You didn't tell anybody. Because you didn't think there was anything wrong with it until it's retrospective. You know what I mean? And then you're in trouble and you're sitting with a police officer listed as a co-conspirator and you're like, how can I flip this to be a victim? I hate that. I hate the fact that the people we see are not the victims, at least not the full victims that we're led to believe. The other thing is all the people who've said the numbers are small, and I've been unsure. I'm like, I don't know. Are we talking about 5, 10, 15 girls? Or are we talking about hundreds of thousands? We're talking about probably thousands. And where are they? She brought 50 to 70 victims. And here's the thing too. You remember a guy named Judge Reinhardt?
Yeah.
Judge Reinhardt. So Judge Reinhardt's down in Florida, and he was one of the prosecutors working at the DOJ that was prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein during his first arrest. He quit the DOJ, went into private practice, and then was hired by Jeffrey Epstein. So he went from on the prosecution team to being a hired lawyer for Jeffrey Epstein. So here's a couple emails.
Super weird.
Okay, so this is Jeffrey Epstein to Bruce Reinhardt. I said Bob. Bruce Reinhardt. Okay, at this point, he's a private attorney. There is a federal absconder, blank, White F release date, F5/14/2008. How do I find her probation officer? So this is Jeffrey Epstein reaching out to Bruce Reinhardt, who was at the DOJ and is now in private practice, to look up someone who's got an ankle monitor. So Bruce replies, you can call me. I'll have it by the end of the day. And then the response is questions. So then we go here and we go, my inside source. So this is Bruce Reinhardt, my inside source, waiting to hear back from knowledgeable people I will check again in the morning. Problem is that the conviction is out of New York, but we're trying to confirm where she was being supervised. I told them I thought it was out of Montana, but they might need to confirm. They're tracking down a victim. They're trying to find a victim that has run off from them. And he's using this judge, or excuse me, they're using this guy who eventually becomes the freaking judge. And also, he's part of the incorporation of the Florida Science Foundation, Inc., which includes Bruce Reinhart, this attorney, who then goes on to become a judge. See electronic articles for incorporation, Bruce Reinhart, and he's involved with this Florida Profit Corporation, okay, which gets wrapped up with Jeffrey Epstein. This is the judge, Reinhart. Make sure I get it. Bruce Reinhart. Okay, so you can show the screen here. This is the judge. And look what he did. Bruce Reinhart, who approved the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago, was not appointed by Trump. So he went from prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein to working for Jeffrey Epstein, helping with the cover-up and whatever that happened. And then he was rewarded with a judgeship. He had a Trump case, had to recuse himself because of all the negative things he said about Trump. But then he got another case literally weeks later dropped on his lap, which was to approve the warrant for Mar-a-Lago, and he did. This web of stuff is horrible. Here's another one. Okay, so you can't trust the judges. That's questionable. You know, a little background checking. What about an ambassador? What about an ambassador to the United States? Well, how about this one? Epstein files reveal that former U.S. ambassador to Mexico, there he is, beautiful man, impregnated an 11-year-old child.
What?
Yep. The president of Mexico is keenly aware of our case against Mancho and other U.S. officials. The case is likely, certainly convicted to years. We have the proof. Once we will help bring the whole new dynamic to what you, anyways, ambassador to Mexico, 11-year-old, tied up in the Epstein scandal. These guys were horrible. And here's the thing. You want to know how deep it goes? Did you know, and this is, again, just like John Solomon, this is old news today. 5 years ago, in 2020 or 2021, whenever we covered this, we found this out. When Jeffrey Epstein got arrested and Ghislaine and this whole, like, who they are kind of bubbled to the surface. Thank you, Q folks. One of the things we found out was Ghislaine Maxwell has some interesting siblings that are deeply embedded in the infrastructure of the United States. This is our hero, Alex Jones.
Ghislaine Maxwell's sister, London Telegraph. That's from 5 years ago. But now the documents come out that Christine Maxwell has run for a decade the DOJ's investigative data warehouse, IDW system, including entire encryption key system and anti-terrorism data warehouse. Mossad, CIA, MI6. And then what's the other sister do? She runs the WEF UN program. Can't make that up. Overhead shot. I got all the documents right here. Look at these on record. Now you're starting to figure out how this works? All because he was the head of the Trilateral Commission. Yep, he was the stand-in for David Rockefeller. World Economic Forum, she runs their computers with the UN. Interpol, you name it. Now you start to get how the cow ate the cabbage. I haven't even got to the worst stuff yet. By the way, I knew this and had forgotten it. So I've told Thomas Sisk, who's a great researcher, and the other great researchers, just keep bringing me everything. A lot of times I've seen it, sometimes I haven't. He goes, did you know that Ghislaine Maxwell's sister runs all the FBI computer systems and counterterrorism systems and the Epstein files? And I went, I did know she worked in cybersecurity for the federal government, but no, I didn't know that. It's all true. You know what the other sister does? Runs the World Economic Forum's security, computers, and technology via into the UN and NATO. Starting to get who Jeffrey Epstein is? Trilateral Commission, stand in for David Rockefeller? I can't go. Go in my stead. You have my full authorization. To use the Tron analogy, you've got Dillinger's the human back, in our dimension, and then you've got
Tron references.
The main program.
Nobody's going to know what that means.
Enforces everything. That's master control. And so Epstein
He just sounds
I knew
crazy.
He was a super gopher. I knew he was, as I explained, real spooks are not in any one agency. They're in everything. And then they kind of are like a symphony conductor or an air traffic controller. I've been saying that for decades about how these guys operate now. It's all over the news because, I mean, I know what I'm talking about. But now it turns out that he was, beyond that, he actually was David Rockefeller's body double, basically. So you can't make it up. You have to understand, I'm supported by...
You can't make it up, man.
We got master control.
So you've got Epstein involved with the Rockefellers and Epstein involved with the Rothschilds, both. Okay. Let me pull it up here. There's an image that I don't do a ton of these images anymore. Back in the first episodes, every episode we had like a special image that we would do. But I saw this and I thought, that's actually a pretty good drawing. Let me see if I can find it really quickly.
The Rothschilds and the, what's the other ones?
Rockefellers.
The Rockefellers. Those two family names seem to keep coming up. It's pretty odd.
Well, here's why. So this is allegedly.
Oh my gosh.
So what this is you've got Baal, Satan, whatever you call it. You got the royal family, and this is why this kind of the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers somehow have climbed the ladder to basically sit adjoining the royal family. Okay, and then you've got Freemasons and Zionists. The Vatican's tied into this, and then you've got our world leaders, actors, singers, sports stars, and then the public who watch the television.
Okay.
I just thought that was a good little thing. So when you hear about Epstein, right, being a stand-in for the Rockefellers and being the number one financial advisor to the Rothschilds and hanging out with Prince Andrew.
Right.
Do you see what I'm talking about here?
He's their intermediary with Baal.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is Jeffrey Epstein comes from the Zionist side of things.
Oh.
Right. I've never heard Jeffrey Epstein associated with Freemasons.
No.
Freemasons tend to be more your Republicans. The Zionists tend to be more your Jewish Democrats. So interesting connection there, but he's sitting up here at this level, allegedly.
if there is such a thing.
If there is such a thing. I have no idea. It's all allegedly.
Yeah.
Okay, it is time for us to jump over into private. We're going to be talking a little bit about AI. I did want to mention one thing before we get there. Michael Tracy, who, in my opinion, is kind of a deplorable person. Not in a good way. Okay, not in a MAGA way. He's kind of a deplorable person, but he does talk about a lot of the Epstein files allude to Donald Trump having committed horrible acts and stuff like that. You've even had Ted Lieu and others. We need redacted files. We have the redacted files. We know how this resolves. You guys are being weird about it, right? So he says this, the accusations against Trump, and trust me, if he could criticize Trump, he would. The accusations against Trump that were supposedly covered up in the Epstein files related to a, quote, Jane Doe accuser who claimed in 2019 to have been drugged and raped by Epstein in South Carolina in the 1980s when she was 13 years old. There's no evidence Epstein ever resided or vacationed in South Carolina, nor that he ever plied anyone with drugs. He was known to abstain entirely from drugs and alcohol and prohibited it in his presence. I don't know. More relevantly, the lawsuit was brought by Lisa Bloom, who previously made fraudulent rape claims against Trump, namely the Katie Johnson lawsuit in 2016, which was a publicity stunt cooked up by her former Jerry Springer show producer, alleging that Trump and Epstein violently raped the 13-year-old girl in the 1990s. It was subsequently exposed as a total hoax, and it was all adjudicated and resolved. So when you hear people talking about Trump's in the Epstein files, it's centered around this particular case, which is a complete fabrication. Came around in 2019, making all these, old claims that not only are wildly unverifiable, but in the case of it happening in South Carolina, there's no evidence Jeffrey Epstein ever even stepped foot in South Carolina. Okay. Let's go ahead and jump over to private. We're going to be talking about what's going on in Mexico. Okay. It's a huge, huge deal down there. We'll see how things shape out this week, if the violence continues or it gets quelched. I mean, this could continue on and be like a long-standing thing, or it could resolve itself pretty quick. But we're going to talk about Mexico and the concept of being a failed state. And then we're also going to talk about election integrity. There was a huge election integrity symposium in D.C. yesterday. Trump didn't mention anything other than the Save America Act. A lot of people had ideas he was going to talk about aliens, or he was going to talk about election fraud, and he did it. He just put the Democrats' shame in their face and moved on. But we're going to talk a little bit about the election integrity And then I'm going to play the clip where Harry Inton says that the Democrats are a clown car. So that was kind of fun. And then before we do that, we're going to hit this again. It's this idea that there's a destabilization. As someone who was accused of violence against a federal officer, assault on a federal officer, and I know how incidental my contact was, right? I got a 7-year sentence for what kind of amounts to incidental contact. It's the what could have happened that you get charged with, not what did happen. Okay. And it's not okay. So in New York, as cops are walking around, they're getting thrown snowballs at them. And there's videos of these cops getting snowballs thrown at them. Now, one of the things you'll see in these videos is like, one of them runs up to the cop and slams a snowball in the back of his head. This isn't a 13-year-old doing that. This is an adult man as big as the officer himself, smacking him on the back of the head with a snowball and point blank and just going at it. So this is assault. If I saw an officer and I picked up a snowball and threw it at him, that is assault. We're not teenagers just randomly engaging in snowball fights, right? You have to all volunteer to do the snowball fight. Otherwise, somebody's committing an assault, period. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we can chalk it up to boys. No. I went to prison. I will never accept that answer again. I will never accept, oh, well, we just did a little bit of rioting again from a Democrat.
It was pretty peaceful.
I will never accept it again, right? From a Democrat. Republicans were not so full of hypocrisy on this one. So I'll never accept it from a Democrat. So when I heard Mondami say this, I thought, you're asking for some real problems. You're unleashing the public on the cops because you're going to protect the public.
From the videos that I've seen, it looks like a snowball fight. I think that there were 2 officers who were facing lacerations on their face.
Snowball fight. Cut.
Look, I've seen the videos of this snowball fight. I think that it was a snowball fight.
The NYPD says no arrests have been made, but the investigation remains ongoing.
So for a snowball fight, did the cops throw any snowballs back? Were they like playing around? Were they having a fun time? Or was this a snowball attack? Mondami, it's that problem we have. People can't live honest to their true beliefs. You want to say one thing, do another. You want to criticize January 6th, but you'll let people on the street just lacerate the face of police officers. Oh, you don't like Jewish privilege, but you spout white privilege anytime it suits you? It's not consistent. It's not consistent. And for us peasants, we just need a little consistency, right? We can't trust anybody. Oh, trust it. The judge said so. Yeah, till next week when he gets arrested for child porn. Or, hey, that's a United States prosecutor. He has an ethical standard. Why'd he quit his job and go work for the pedophile he was prosecuting and help him look up victims that they're trying to hunt down? And then ends up being a judge and signs off on a warrant to search Donald Trump's house. And we know that warrant was faulty and illegally premised and all. Where's the accountability? I can't trust my college professors. I want to. All right, time to run over to private.